Okay, so Kevin, you would like to learn more about core values and I guess why we have core values and why in particular do we choose these core values? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with this first. Let's start with this idea of purpose. How important is it, do you think, for people to have purpose in their work?
Their work. I think it's very important
Right. And why would having purpose at work be very important?
because having purpose gives you goals, and then having goals determines your day-to-day work, like what to do and how you optimize your daily work to go to that goal.
Exactly. So, okay, we talked about you just mentioned this idea of goals, and are goals purposeful? Or can goals also be purposeless?
I think it should be purposeful
Yes.
because if the goal is purposeless, then it's like no use going through
There can be some
chasing it.
goals that have no purpose, right? So let's say, for example, if you have, or maybe for the wrong purpose, let's say you have an Instagram account and your purpose is
Okay.
to always get more likes. So, what purpose would, let's say, a person who's doing that be serving? If their only purpose of having an Instagram account is to have more likes, what purpose are they actually serving?
Yeah, it's not clear yet.
Okay. Well, in most cases, if we were to look at, let's say, a person who's doing that, it seems like their purpose is very self-serving, right? It's mostly vanity. It's I want to be admired and adored by people. In a personal case, that might be okay, right? That might be a fulfilling purpose. I want people to admire me. But when you kind of take it a little bit further and apply it to a group of people, then it doesn't motivate, right? If everyone is on Instagram trying to help you get likes, is it because they also want you to be admired? Okay, that might be kind of like a good thought exercise you can do. So let's go back to this idea of purpose. Purpose is so important in the work we do. So purpose gives us a sense of direction. Purpose gives us a sense of fulfillment. There's a common psychology concept I want to share with you, and we talk about it quite a lot and frequently here at Bukit Vista. We use the Maslow pyramid, and there's three different layers of the Maslow pyramid. Well, actually, a general Maslow pyramid has something like this, right? This is the more commonly understood Maslow pyramid. So you have physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and finally
Oh,
self-actualization. These are sort of like a truth that is basic understanding of human psychology. Now, we're going to take this idea and we're going to apply it to, let's say, an employee experience, right? Let's say somebody who is working here at Bukit Vista. Oops. Okay. If somebody's working here at Bukit Vista, then their Maslow pyramid probably would look a little bit more like this, all right? So, as an employee, we need to get paid. So, that's the very bottom layer of our Maslow pyramid. But just like, wait, actually, before I go any further, let me stop real quick. Are you familiar with the Maslow hierarchy of needs?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll engage Socratically in this way. So what generally happens to your pyramid as a previous layer's needs are fulfilled?
Wait, so what happens to the previous layers?
What happens generally if you fulfill one layer? What happens to the next layer?
Well, it depends if the next layer is fulfilled or not as well, right?
But you get the opportunity to go to the next layer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
what
yeah.
happens if the previous layer isn't filled? Is it likely or unlikely to go to the next layer?
It's unlikely. It's
Right.
unlikely.
Okay, very good. So that's why it's a pyramid, because it requires you to sort of like go through each stage at a time. All right. So let's go to this. I know this is a very long explanation to core values, but it is core values do not exist in a vacuum. They exist because of a certain reason, and we'll connect the dots hopefully in a second. All right. So as, let's say, an employee, your first layer is money. You need money to survive, pay your bills, your rent, your food costs, whatever those might be. So that is the first layer. But as a company, we don't want to have everyone just focusing on the first layer. That would not be a very inspirational company to work in. That would not be a very purpose-driven company to work in. So the next layer is this idea of recognition or success, some type of career stimulation. So it's important that we get that alignment at that level. The furthest layer, the highest layer, is a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose, sense of calling in the work that you do, in the work that is happening around you. This is what makes a company truly transformational and truly inspired to light. So this, I think, is an important physics to understand about how people work in the company, and it relates ultimately to core value. Okay, so let's keep this in mind, and let's go and understand a little bit more about purpose. So if we have a strong purpose, if we have a strong reason to do what we do, what layers of the pyramid do you think that enforces?
Strong purpose should be meaning, right?
Yes, it creates a meaning. So if you do want to have an inspirational company, you need to think about, all right, how do I ground this company, this work that everyone's going to go do together, this future that we have together in some sort of meaning that makes sense, right? Okay. Otherwise, you just become a company that offers money, which is probably like let's say being a Grab or Gojek driver, right? So it's fairly transactional. And even on Grab and Gojek, they try to make it more of like, they try to install meaning to the driver's work as well. So anyway, if you want to create a place where there's meaning, where there's alignment, there's ultimately a purpose to what we do, then this understanding of the purpose becomes very important. Okay, let's take that purpose and make it a little bit more real. What is the purpose of Bukit Vista?
I think the purpose should be the same as the vision and mission.
Correct. Excellent. And what is the mission of Bukit Vista?
I remember vision is which one is vision again? It's inspire, delight is vision, right?
Not the
Inspire
full
delight to
vision,
everyone.
but you need to fill it out. Inspire, delight.
Inspire delight to everyone, everywhere, every time.
Yes, that's correct. That's the vision of the company. Correct. And what is the mission of the company? What are we going to do every day to try to get closer to that idea?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot. I remember the mission or the vision.
Okay. Here's what it is. Let's actually take the vision and ask ourselves how. How are we going to achieve that vision, Kevin? How are we going to do that?
Vision to inspire delight. We need to be working tirelessly towards that purpose.
On what? Working
On
tirelessly is an activity, right? It's not necessarily a goal.
yeah.
And it doesn't even necessarily tell us how we should work, right? So what should we prioritize? What should we focus on?
We should focus on the people.
Correct, but also
Okay.
very broad. That's very broad, right? What people? Which people? Everyone in the world?
Employee, yes, and partners.
Correct. Okay, so now we have a specific group of people we want to focus on. And what do we want to do to these specific people?
We want to serve them. We want to like giving them highest quality of
A little bit
service.
broad, right? So let's take a look at this. Let's say in the employee case, right? Somebody comes to Bukit Vista simply to find some work. Later on, they discover that, hey, oh my God, there's actually an opportunity for a career here. Oh, hey, look, finally, maybe my life's work belongs here at Bukit Vista, and I can do some really amazing things. What would you call that process of a person sort of evolving through these different stages? What does that sound like to you?
Evolving into different stages. Oh, transformation.
Correct. And what kind of transformation do we want? Do we want bad transformation? Do we want positive transformation?
Positive transformation.
Excellent. Okay. So that gives us a specific kind of goal, right? Related to who. We want to positively transform guest partners and employees. But how are we going to do that? What is going to be the vehicle for us to actually enable positive transformation to happen?
Transformation is the service that we provide.
Okay, very good. You're onto it. And how is this service going to change over time? What are we going to do to be able to make this service inspire delight?
Oh, innovation.
That's correct. All right, you got it.
Yeah.
So our mission is to inspire delight through hospitality innovations that positively transforms our guests, partners, and employees. And believe me, we spent a lot of time thinking about what that was, right? So it is that essentially comes down to the mission. Now, we have a mission, we have a vision, so that gives us a purpose. It gives us, something to do. And when we have a purpose, everything that we do now has meaning associated with it, right? So there's a story that I like to say, and it's a pretty powerful story, right? There's two guys and they're laying brick. They're just one brick on another. You ask one guy, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying brick. You ask the other guy what he's doing. He says, I'm building a cathedral.
Oh,
Okay. So that's the difference. Two people might be doing work, but one person understands purpose and the other person doesn't understand purpose. They understand it as a job, right? So being able to at least clarify the purpose offers the potential, not necessarily always achieved, but offers the potential for people to find meaning in the work that they do. Okay, great. Now let's get to this idea of core values. How do you think that the core values can support, stimulate, and grow the mission and vision of the company?
Well, first of all, I think it gives everyone the bigger picture of
Mhm.
the vision and mission.
Okay.
And it's like guidance. It's like a guidance step on how to achieve that goals.
Great, great. You got it. Now, why do we have core values here instead of, let's say, something like a standard operating procedure where we give you a list of things to do and you just follow that?
Because I think that like standard operator, like SOP like that, it's easier to get lost. Like
Hmm.
kind of forget like why you do it.
Okay, in that sense, yeah. Would you think it's easier to get lost if you were a task-based person, if you just wanted to come in and do a task every day? Is it easier to get lost if you have core values or SOP?
It's easier to get lost if you have.
You sure about that? Let's say, for example, I'm coming to Bukit Vista and my job is to do reservations, right? And I can be guided by core values, or I can be guided by first I open the inbox, next I answer the first inquiry on top, next I do this, next I do this, next I do this. Which way do you think would actually be easier for a person that's just looking to do their job?
Oh, okay. For a person that's just looking to do their job, and it's task based.
Right. But okay, so obviously there's something valuable about SOPs, right? We can give it to people and we can kind of reliably count on if they follow the instructions, all will be well. But why have we chosen not to go with that particular way of doing business?
Why? Well, I think it's because like when you're going with the core values, I mean like if you're guided by the core values, right? You don't get stuck by the mundane tasks of every day. You can try to like maybe like like you don't necessarily boxed by that SOP, right?
Okay.
Like you can because you're guided by core values, then maybe sometimes you feel like, oh, there's actually a better way to do it, like a faster way. And then you just feel like
If that happens, Kevin, if you find that there's a better way, what process are you doing? What are you doing when you find a better way that relates to the vocabulary of the mission and vision?
it's innovation.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct. So that's the idea. If we use SOPs, and SOPs are not all bad, we have recently realized that sometimes, as an innovation too, we've recently realized that we reinvent the wheel often here. We'll see a problem and then we'll invent a new solution. But this new solution has already been derived months ago. But the person inventing it didn't realize that this solution was already derived. So I think, yes, it is good to create, but we must create progressively and innovate, which means that we do not come back to the same solution that we had a year ago. But you are correct. Core values at their heart, what they do is they allow for innovation to happen. Now, does core value work for everybody? Or do we need some context around how core values can work in terms of the people or in terms of the environment or the culture of the company?
Yeah, I think it needs some context.
Right. And what context is necessary in order for core values to thrive?
What context? I think it depends on the task that we are doing,
Okay.
who we are doing it for, and who we are doing it with.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. That's interesting. In the dimensions of do core values work for everybody, or do we need some sort of minimum standard of person here in order for core values to work?
I think the core values should work for everybody, but it's just at different level.
Okay.
Like maybe some people can get like a core value better, or maybe some people like doesn't come naturally to them. So
I see. Okay.
yeah, they have to work through it.
Absolutely. Okay. In that sense. But think about this, though. If we hire a lot of people here at Bukit Vista who only want to focus on jobs and pursue, let's say, they're only interested in the first level of the Maslow pyramid, do you think that kind of person would choose to use core values to guide their decision making, or does it not work so well?
If it's their main motivation, then I think no.
Probably not, right? Because they're not
Yes.
by purpose. And it's this idea of being guided and being motivated by purpose that actually gives the correct context for core values. If you don't care about the mission of the company, if you don't care about the vision of the company, then using core values becomes a pain in the butt, right? Because you're just like, why do I have to make all these silly decisions, right? Why can't my boss just tell me what to do so that I can go home after my hours are done? So that is imperative that we seek and we find people who actually are here. Not that we don't pay them, right? That's not the point, but that they do want money, they want career, but they also have a purpose, that they're in a position where they're thinking about like, okay, what is the ultimate cause that I'm serving? What is the ultimate benefit that I would like to deliver and change? And how will I be remembered even by my peers, by my industry, and by those around me? So it's very important that core values work together with this idea of people who have a calling, who have a purpose. All right, let's take a look at some of the core values here. You can even look for them on the internet. I think we've already published it. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, we recently did a website change, and our core values used to show up on Google search as an index, but now that's sad. Okay, I will need to probably. Oh wow, that's not good. Okay, interesting. Okay, all right. Good. Okay, they got re-indexed over here. All right, I was worried about that. Okay, let's ask ourselves these questions. What do you think, Kevin, is the theme to most of the core values? What is, if you add all the core values together, what are they essentially trying to guide people to do?
No, sorry. It's like the sound distract me. Sorry, I'm hungry suddenly.
Yeah, that's like
Right.
a psychological. That's like Pavlov, right? With the
Yeah.
dinner bell and the dog. Okay, all right.
Wait. So what's the core values added to, right?
Yeah, what is the theme of all the core values? What do you think that they're trying to guide our community to do?
Some of it, I think it should be like innovation.
You got it. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. They're guiding the company to innovate because that. Okay. Here's the thing. Let's look back at the mission again, right?
Yeah.
We want to inspire delight. We want to inspire delight by positively transforming people. We want to positively transform people through innovations and improving our services that make them delighted. Do we have control whether somebody will be delighted? Is that our decision or their decision?
It's their decision.
Right. We don't have control whether somebody wants to be delighted or not. Somebody could be in a bad mood. We could put out a king's table for them, but they just had a fight with their spouse or their parents. They're in a rotten mood, so they're not going to be inspired or delighted, no matter how astounding the circumstance can be. Okay. Can we alone positively transform people?
And we alone, it's possible.
What if the person doesn't want to be positively transformed?
Oh, true.
Right. What if the person just wants to be derelict or degenerate, or they just simply don't? They're a luddite and they don't want to move from their current
They
position.
don't want it to be transformed, right? Then it's not fun. Then it's not fun.
Okay. So this is really important to understand too as well. So what you need to think about is when you prioritize, when you think about what is it we're going to do, you're going to think about, okay, all right, I want to do this mission. There's a goal. There's a goal to inspire delight. There's a goal to positively transform people. But I don't have control over if I'm going to actually inspire delight. I don't have control whether or not I'm going to positively transform anybody. Those I don't control. But what can I control?
What I can control is how my effort to transform.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you can control your effort. And how would you like your efforts to be directed? How would you like your efforts to be channeled?
How means, of course, the effort has to be positive first.
Okay.
To transform positively.
Mhm.
And,
That's the mission. Where do you want to focus your efforts? Where do you want to channel your efforts? And yeah.
All right. To innovation.
Yes, you got it. That's it.
Oh, okay.
So this is really important to understand too as well. So your efforts cannot be, let's say, the result of your efforts might be that you positively transform somebody. The result of your efforts might be that you inspire delight. But your efforts, what they do directly is to innovate. And that's why the core values are there primarily around innovation, because these are the things we can control. So that's why the core values are there, to help us control and guide our energies to focus on the thing we can focus on. If, let's say, we focus our whole time on, all right, I want to inspire this person, but this person doesn't want to be inspired. So I'm dejected and I'm sad and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to cry now because I tried so hard and they weren't inspired, they weren't delighted. That's not a good use of your efforts. That's not a good use of your emotional and physical energies. So instead, take your emotional energy, take your physical energies and channel it to innovate. Now, this is primarily the discussion that's the heart of our discussion, which is what does the core values do? Let's take a look at some of the core values and see how they help us innovate. So let's talk about this one first. Actually, this one is this is a complicated core value actually. So let's go with something that's interesting. This one, all the new people here love to talk about this one because it really empowers them. So step on toes. What does step on toes mean?
mean, step on other people's toes.
Sure. And what is the purpose of having this core value? Why do we have it?
Oh, okay. It's just that I feel like from what I understand is that everyone can get their ideas, everyone can contribute values to the company, and if let's say they found something that is not right or they think can be better, then even though it might make other people's comfortable because of their ideas but they should do it. So that's why it's called step on.
Right. What happens to a company that doesn't step on toes?
I feel like they will become very hierarchical.
Right. And then?
Yeah. And they just don't like it's very hard for them to innovate because they only have ideas from the top.
Right. Right. And do the best ideas necessarily come from the top?
No.
No. Right. So there we have it, right? This is to create idea currency and trade in idea currency. If we can't trade and engage and transact in idea currency, then it becomes very stuck. Most ideas are very fragile when they first get created. Nobody's really sure if it's going to work or not. It's just an idea. But if these ideas can't find the correct place to be expressed, if the company at some point, somebody in the company knows what to do, but that person can't be heard or won't be heard, then I think that kind of organization is doomed sooner or later. So this is part of our whole radical candor tone that we want to set here at Bukit Vista 2 as well, which is it's important. It's actually an obligation. If you have an idea that you feel is worthwhile, you need to step on toes. You need to go and express that, even if it challenges even if it challenges me or the CTO or somebody that's been here longer. That is crucial. If we don't do that, then, and this is so true, what happens is, did you ever read that Hans Christian Andersen? I'm not sure if it's even Hans Christian Andersen, but the story about the Emperor's New Clothes.
Emperor's New Clothes. I think I watched the cartoon.
Okay.
Hey, no, that's Emperor's New Groove.
Yes, Emperor's New Groove. But
sorry. Yeah, but I haven't read the story.
Yeah, well, okay, this kind of summarizes it pretty nicely, right? Just that one graphic. So the emperor is told by some tailors from out of town that they can weave magic cloth, and this magic cloth is invisible to dumb people, but only smart people can see it. So then the emperor buys into that, and everybody believes this myth, and the emperor is marching down the street one day in a parade, absolutely naked, and a child points out the emperor is naked, right? And then everyone sees it. So this happens quite a lot. This is a blind spot that can happen often in organizations and it's perfectly natural that this would happen. It's because that the more senior people often are further away from the day-to-day operations. And that's where truth is. That's where facts are coming in. That's where you develop intuition. They're insulated from this because they're not taking inquiries every day. They're not meeting guests every day. They're not necessarily dealing with partners every day. So their intuition fades over time. And this becomes really important to step on toes to remind everyone, and it could be two ways. It could be me reminding you, it could be you reminding me about our mission, about a fact, about something that is important to keep in mind. Okay, so this is a fun core value and it helps with innovation. Let's go to one of the next core values here. Oh, okay, what happened here? Okay, let's go on. This one's pretty good. Fail fast. Why do we have fail fast? What is the purpose of failing fast?
Because when you innovate, like what you said before, some ideas doesn't like you don't know if it's going to work or not, so you need to test it.
Right.
So if you fail fast, means that you test ideas fast as well, right? So that means you innovate fast.
That's right. All right, very good. Failing fast is actually a pretty core concept to improve the efficiency of innovation. So if we fail slowly, if we take months to realize that something isn't working, then it's very wasteful. We spend a lot of resources, we spend a lot of time. It's not lean. It certainly isn't agile. So what we want to do is we want to have a culture where we're discovering things when they're not working. And 90% of the things we're going to do will probably fail, right? Our first attempts are generally never successful. But what happens is eventually at some point something changes. Perhaps the user changes, right? They positively transform and they're beginning to accept and adopt the application that we're creating. And the application is getting better and the user experience of that application is getting better. And then we have a fit. But before that, there's probably going to be a lot of attempts and a lot of uncertainty. But let's learn quickly. Let's learn fast too through through failures as well. This core value works really well with two other values. Let's see which two other values you believe that this works really well with.
Oh, okay. Fail fast. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Why be the hero? Why is it important to be the hero?
All right, because like a be the hero means that when you see something that needs to fix, then you take responsibility of fixing it. So that means if let's say you see something that needs to be fixed, you kind of find a problem and you find how to fix that problem.
That's right.
And maybe the first time it doesn't work very well, and then it becomes a fail fast.
You got it. You got it. Right. You can't fail fast unless you started working on something in the first place, right? And if you didn't want anything in the first place, you were not being the hero. So be the hero essentially says that it's okay to be the pioneer. It's actually encouraged to be the pioneer. If you're the first one doing it, or if you're the only person doing it, well, take pride in that. Don't be, oh, how come nobody else is working on this? I must not know anything. No. It's probably because maybe it wasn't prioritized or nobody had time, or it's probably because you're the best person to work on it because you discovered it. So be the hero gets us started. For most successful companies, you need kind of two qualities in order for this company to succeed. You need to have daring, you need to have caring. So with these two components, I suppose it's almost like a mother and a father, right? You have the father be daring and the mother be caring. Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe the mother is daring and the father's caring. So but I think this symbiosis of two qualities really gets us to a stable culture that builds progressively. All right. How do we know if we failed or not? What are the indicators to let us know, whoops, guess we're not seeing any success? What core value can we use in that case?
Or what kind of values can you use? Be transparent.
Yeah, very good. Be transparent.
Oh, okay.
Being
Yeah.
transparent means that you're not filtering news, right? To make yourself, let's say, look good or adjusting things to distort the facts. Being transparent means that you're sharing information so that others might be able to guide you. Yes, this might put you at a risk for looking ridiculous or maybe failing in public, but certainly it sets the correct expectations too of everyone around you. And it also allows for innovation to happen. Innovation happens only when we get the clear picture, we have the correct context of what's going on. If it's not clear, then if we're seeing an illusion, a distortion of what the actual fact is, then how are we supposed to innovate? We might fail even more frequently if we're not given the facts. So this part becomes pretty important. Along with this is another core value about how do we use facts versus intuition. What core value covers that, Kevin?
Okay, some of it.
What core value tells us to use facts rather than intuition to make our decisions?
Facts right now. Oh, okay. Don't assume. Use data.
Yes, that is correct. Stop assuming, use data to make decisions. All right. Now, this is how we make data-driven decision making. We have the ability to harvest a lot of data now. So whenever possible, we use facts. We use facts to justify why we believe something because facts are incontestable. Data is incontestable. Data lets us see how trends are happening. Data lets us see what's really going on. Data specific to Bukit Vista tells us how the company is doing. There's sometimes some confusion about this. People will bring in, let's say, we have this a lot when new people come in. They'll bring in like gigantic macro trends data. Have you studied economics before?
Yep.
Okay. What's the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics?
Okay, that's quite a long time ago, but let me try. Macroeconomics.
Be the hero. Core value right there.
Macroeconomics is something like economics for between like larger countries in a larger context, right? For example, like between two nations.
Yep.
And then microeconomics is something that is more microscopic in nature. Maybe it's just for that between the country itself, maybe just between the cities, or maybe just between people.
Okay.
So
All right. Sometimes even smaller than that, Kevin. Sometimes it's just an organization, right? Just a company and its local neighborhoods. Now, what are we more like? Are we functioning in a macroeconomic context or a microeconomic context?
Let me take a check. Microeconomics.
Yeah. Let's go to even a bigger company. What do you think Tokopedia functions in? Do you think they function in a macro or a micro?
I think Tokopedia is micro.
Yeah, very good. And why do you think that?
Because they like even right now, I mean like right now Tokopedia doesn't offer cross-country shipping.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So even a big company like let's say a Tokopedia or Gojek, generally, or maybe even Airbnb, Google, or Facebook, generally speaking, they function on the microeconomic level because their users are microeconomic type businesses, right? Some of them, of course, might have multinational offices and politics and stuff, but the bulk of their users are people who are small and medium businesses, right? Or professionals or whatever it is. But the ecosystems running on them function a lot closer. So as a result, this is something that's pretty interesting. It's a refinement of this concept. When I was at Airbnb, so I used to work at Airbnb, I was really surprised two or three things, right? I'll go with one non-subject and then focus on this one. One thing was they never hired anybody from the hotel industry, or very, 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 very few, almost none. They didn't hire people from hospitality. They hired mostly people from tech. The other thing I saw that was pretty interesting is they very rarely used data that was outside of the company's records. So most of the time at Airbnb, they looked at data inside the company, not at data outside the company. And I was confused. That made no sense. What? I mean, these are two obvious things. If you're going to be a hospitality company, why do you not hire hospitality people? If you're going to be a data company, why are you not using data from outside? Do you know why they chose to do that?
Well, okay. I feel like Airbnb, they are more into, as a company, they emphasize more on the technology, on the apps, not hospitality service. It's like, I think what they focus on is we are an app company connecting the hospitality services to
Yes.
where needed. Yeah. And then for the data part, I think it's because, how to say this, like if they only would use data from inside the company, that means they only focus on those data, right? So I think all I can think right now is they only find the data inside the company to be relevant to what their future company goals.
Perfect answer. So relevancy. If you have, let's say, big data, or not big data, if you, let's say, have tourism statistics saying that this year 20% more people from this country will arrive to this country. Okay, does that really affect me? Right? Will I be able to control anything to take advantage of that? And most of the time the answer is no. Most of the time it's sort of like this, right? It's sort of like if the ocean has a high tide, all the boats go up, right? Or the ocean has a low tide, all the boats go down. If you have a boat, what you should be focusing on is your sails, your rudder, your compass, and what you control to actually navigate through the ocean. And you should be able to improve your control by looking at your own data so that you are navigating better, you're using more power from your sails, your rudder is stronger, your compass is more accurate. That is essentially the purpose of how to use data in an innovative way. So this is a very important distinction. It took me quite a long time to understand that the data drives a purpose, right? It drives this purpose of innovation. Innovation means that you are doing something better than you did before. So therefore, the data is there actually to tell you, are you doing better than what you were doing before? So that also changes the perspective. Are you really competing with yourself? Are you competing with other people?
Oh, I think it's better to compete with yourself.
Right. If you
That's how you grow, right?
that's how you grow. That's how you go. That's what positive transformation means, right? Back to the mission. So if you spend too much time thinking about how to compete with somebody else, generally what happens is something funny. You actually become a follower of your competitor, right? You're trying to be like, me too. And I've got that as well. You're playing their game, or you're letting them set what the tone of the game is. But instead, the internet has a lot of space on it, has a lot of opportunity for many niches. It's and maybe in some industries it's necessary to play that game, but the internet is pretty wide open. It's better to be the best version of yourself and attract the people who are like-minded to really understand about what you offer and your unique offering, because generally that's what passionate users are, right? Apple, for example, does not create, actually, they have a very limited product range, right? It's usually one desktop computer for professionals, one desktop for normal users, one tablet for professional, one for normal users, one laptop for normal, one laptop for professionals, and then one phone, and then all the accessories and stuff that support it. But you compare that with maybe like Dell or HP, I think they create like dozens of laptops and dozens of such. And you can see which one actually works better over time. Oh, okay. Lost you, Kevin. Okay, so for anybody watching this video, this is an example of how we take a look at core values. Oh, Kevin's back. Okay, I was gonna narrate the conclusion of this video. So,
Okay.
so you can see, like, let's say going back to Apple's strategy, This idea of looking at their own data, looking at their own products, and thinking of ways to innovate and create a better, more original product based on something that they've done before. This is what drives the innovation engine at Apple. And they're not trying to, let's say, be more like an HP. They're not trying to be more like a Dell. They are pricing themselves in a different category. They're using a different design. They're using, actually, more people want to compete with them. More people are trying to follow them. But if that is your goal, to be a second-rate Apple, even if you succeed, right, you're still behind. You're not really leading innovation. You're not really even innovating. You're following in this particular. You're not being the hero. So in this particular case, I realized the way we use data is just as important as using data by itself. All right. Okay. Let's go to this core value. This is an interesting core value, and I said I would put it last because we realized that this is actually kind of an interesting core value. Why do you think we have this core value, Kevin?
In terms of, I think it's
Yeah, sure. Okay.
others first means that you try to spot the problem that other people have,
Yes.
and by that sense, you try to solve that problem.
Correct.
So then, using innovation that you have.
Perfect understanding.
That's right.
Excellent. So this is one of the core values that relates to hospitality. If we didn't have this, we would just be a technology company, right? We wouldn't be a hospitality company. So I think the very essence of hospitality is how well do we serve people's needs. So let's say back to the Maslow pyramid, right? So Maslow pyramid, there's one for guests too as well. Let's say guest and Chukami. Okay. All right. So look at images and we'll probably find a guest pyramid. Where's a guest pyramid? No, that's an employee pyramid. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is a guest pyramid, right? So a satisfactory experience as a guest is something that meets expectations. You expected A, you got A. Something that meets desires is higher than that, right? You expected A, you got an A plus. Unrecognized needs is even better. It's like you expected A, you got a trip to the moon. So that is how we enhance and deliver an amazing experience, right? So this idea of helping others first means having the intuition to dig, to try to figure out what those unrecognized needs might be. For example, I'm taking time right now to really explain deeply about core values, starting from the purpose. My guess is that you probably have some unrecognized needs. For if you're asking the question about core value, maybe you need also to understand about the context and about the purpose of core values. So that's why I'm trying to, let's say, inspire delight in this case and bring you along that journey, right? So that you can fulfill some of your unrecognized needs. But this is complex. And the only way that we can attain this level of being able to anticipate unrecognized needs is that if we truly want to help others first, if we truly want to help our guests, if we truly want to help our employees, if we truly want to help our partners, then we need to get better at anticipating what needs they might have and how we can deliver that. All right, but this value is a little bit conflicting sometimes. Where can you see conflict in this? Where do you see potential struggle in fulfilling this value?
Potential struggle. Potential struggle, I think it's when you help others when you yourself detail.
Yeah, that's hilarious. There's a Chinese saying, I love it. It's 泥菩萨过江,自身难保. It means when...
Oh, that's really good.
You know that? Oh, wait, you speak Chinese?
Yeah, but I don't know that. It's just your pronunciation is really good.
Okay. What do you think it means? What do you think that expression means? 泥菩萨过江,自身难保.
I totally forgot already.
It's a funny expression in Chinese. It says when the Buddha made of mud crosses the river, it has a hard time preserving itself. So the idea of like a Buddha is that a Buddha should be saving other people, helping others first, right? But when a Buddha made from mud crosses a river, it needs to, well, it doesn't, it's just bring up the irony that it would have a hard time saving itself. Yes, you're right. It's hard to help others first when you yourself are not strong enough, right? Or you yourself might not have the capacity or the understanding or just the energy to do it. So we're thinking about changing this, actually. We're thinking of modifying this to helping others help themselves ultimately, right? Because then that would be a bit more related to innovation and also positive transformation. So if we create a dependency from helping others first, then we don't really help them permanently. We just help them by being a lackey, by being a servant, right? But if we help others so that they are now enabled to solve their own problems, and ultimately that I think is a better core value. So this core value is under scrutiny for perhaps a improvement, an innovation in itself, right? To change that. Okay.
How about help to guide others? I think
I think that's it. Help to guide others, but to what end? Right?
True.
We need to have kind of like a help guide others. But fundamentally, Kevin, do you believe help guide others is any different than helping others first?
I feel it's different because if you help others first, that means you're putting the word first means that you're putting other people higher than you, right? So even if you need help, still put other people's higher. But when you help guide other people, that means it's already a different context, which means that you help guide others as much as you can.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that for discussion. Okay. So I'll show a little things behind the scenes. So every week we have a leadership discussion, and we're going to say that this is an opportunity. Okay. And it's at leadership level. And can we evolve the help others first core value? Kevin, which Kevin are you? Kevin Gosal. Kevin Gosal.
Kevin number 3.
Yes, to use guide others. Okay. Do you want to come to this meeting? I mean, you seem like a curious person, so I can invite you in if you would like to participate.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I would like to.
All right, you're in. So what I'll do, Kevin, what's your email? Is it kevin.gosal?
KevinGosal.bukitvista@gmail.com.
Okay, there we go.
Type it.
Okay, you're invited. So why don't you come in on Friday at 3 o'clock? I assume you'll probably pass your internship trials, and you can present your idea of how to modify this core value. Give you an opportunity to speak with the leaders in the company. All right, great. Okay, I like. Yeah, that's being the hero and having an idea and thinking of new things and being transparent. Great. Okay, we don't have time to go over all the core values, but I'll just briefly touch upon each one. Details matter. The best way I explain details matter is it's another Asian fable, idiom. Have you ever heard about the horse's nail and how the horse's nail lost a war?
Horse's nail, no.
Okay, there's
more than me.
Yeah, there's a pretty good saying. Actually, I think I saw it in a Fast and the Furious movie. But anyway, so the story goes like this, right? Because the nail could not be found, the horse could not be fitted with a horseshoe. Because the horse could not be mustered in time, the cannon could not be pulled to the hill. Because the cannon wasn't on the hill, it could not provide supporting cover for the infantry attack. Because the infantry attack was not supported by cannon fire, the battle was lost. Because the battle was lost, the war was lost. Because the war was lost, the country was lost. Because of a stupid nail, the country was lost.
The whole country lost. Yeah.
So sometimes it can actually be that important. Sometimes the details do actually add up to something that can be pretty impactful. But this is why we also need to fail fast, right? So if somebody needs to fail fast and realize the horse's nail is gone and find another way, right? Like use like, I don't know, use like a stick or something. So this part just indicates we do live in the internet age, and in the internet age there's very powerful triggers, right? Like let's say our website. Our website used to get something like, I forgot, it was close to like 12,000 visits a month, right? So it's a pretty significant site. But when we made the migration, if the details aren't always there, wait, let me see if I can actually bring up the website. I'm kind of curious what the stats are right now. If the details aren't there, then we start suffering, right? We might suffer in terms of lost traffic, we might suffer in terms of job applicants or partners or whatever, because what we do has scale. Scale works both ways, in fact. It works for you and can work against you from time to time. So I'm just kind of curious to see actually how are we doing right now. So let's see the past 30 days, compare it with the last 30 days and see what sort of is the total stats. Okay, yeah, still something around 12,000 visits. I can't see overall stats, but let me see if I can see the top level here. No, that's behavior flow. 45,000. Oh, actually, I'm incorrect. Sorry, we get much more than that. We get 45,000 page views a month. So quite quite more than what I believed. All right. Anyway, that pretty much covers, okay, that fail fast, step on toes, and never settle. Never settle means that innovation is never really done. Once we've created the iPhone 10, there's an iPhone 12. After the iPhone 12 is the iPhone 15 and 30 or whatever it is. So it's just a process. It's never really finished. Okay. All right. Those are the core values. The core values support the purpose of the company, and the purpose supports the sense of meaning that we derive when we work. And this helps support this idea of how we want to inspire delight. So core values inspire delight. The mission of the company inspires delight, which is actually kind of funny because it's sort of the mission of the company to inspire delight, but all of it works together in an ecosystem. And if we do well, then what you should see is you should see yourself transform. You should see your colleagues transform. You should see guests transform. You should see partners transform. You should start seeing the world transform, which means that we're making impact and making the world a better place.
Cool.
Okay. All right. How's that?
All right, that's clear for me. Yeah, that's clear for me. Thank you very much.
All right, Kevin, thank you for asking. And this is a great chance also, I think, for myself to explain core values. So if you don't mind, I'll be uploading this, and perhaps people who are curious in the future, they can benefit from our discussion.
All right.
Okay.